Have you ever wondered how some leaders manage to thrive in business without sacrificing their personal lives? What does it take to lead with purpose, implement smart systems, and still have time for what truly matters? Is it possible to be high performing and only work 5, 6, 7 hours a day? Well, today I'm honored to have Cathy Christen join us, a serial entrepreneur, dynamic speaker, executive coach with over 20 years of experience. Cathy is dedicated to helping leaders like yourself thrive in business without sacrificing the life that they love. So, how do you build a life where you can have it all? How do you build a life where you're not constantly hitting burnout? On this episode, Cathy and we talk about her professional journey. We'll talk about strategies to balance a high performance life and insights to really building a life where you're working smarter, not harder, so that you can achieve lasting success. If you're striving to elevate your leadership, your life, and truly build a life where you can have it all, you're going to want to stay for this entire episode. Without further ado, let's jump into our episode with Cathy Christen. Hi, Cathy. Welcome to the Rise Up For You podcast. I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah, so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm excited to talk with you today because we're going to jump into a topic that we haven't had on the podcast this season. Actually, I think it's been a while since we've really touched and tapped into it. But before we jump in, I always like to let the audience get to know our guests. And so I would love for you to just share a little bit about who you are in your own words. Brag a little bit to us.
Well, I've worn a lot of hats in my world, but really at this point in my career, I help small business owners scale, make money with having the freedom to live a life they love through building great teams with duplicatable systems. And a big part of building up great teams is building them with processes, with skill sets. We run a leadership academy, a lot of things in alignment with, I love what you do. And what you do through this podcast. And I'm just so excited to be able to give. I'm co-founder of GoBundance Women. I'm a division manager for Vector Marketing. I have a consulting company I've had for 23 years for small business owners, helping with culture teams, back-end systems, and involved with real estate investing and a lot of other things, speaker, author. That's kind of me in a nutshell.
I love that. I love how you brag about yourself. Good job. So many people struggle with self-promotion, but you did a bang up job. So I want to know, obviously sometimes when individuals look, yourself or other people, they see just the success. They're like, oh, like she did all of this, but they never really understand the journey of getting there, why you're there, how you got here, why you decided to tap into this industry. So I'd love for you to just take us back to Cathy when she was in high school. Who was Cathy in high school? And then how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. Well, Cathy in high school came from a very low income family who was doing anything she could to get out of there. I was working my butt off to get great grades because it was get good grades, get a scholarship, go to college, get a job. Your life is great, right? So that's the path I was on. And thankfully, my sophomore year of high school, I had the opportunity to hang out at a friend's house after school when a volleyball practice was canceled and her parents were entrepreneurs. And it was the first time I saw parents who were home, before 5 p.m. and both of them were there. And I'm like, what is this? And that's where I found out. I said, how are your parents home? And they're like, well, they have their own business. And it was really there where entrepreneurship became the focus, and I went into college knowing that was something I wanted. That was something I wanted to pursue. And then bumped into Cutco when I was 19 before my sophomore and junior year. And that forever changed the game for me in terms of learning personal selling, being able to have financial independence, really learning the power of goal setting, breaking down goals and going after and really seeing what was possible, for myself. And I think that shaped and molded my perspective of like, wow, we can really have whatever life we want. I grew up thinking I'm just going to do the best with what I have. And there's so many reasons I feel like people don't tap into their full potential. And for me, it was feeling like that's not for people like me. It was for people like that. Right. And it was through doing sales at an early age and seeing, wait a second, like if I dream big, if I have a goal, if I sit down and break it down and I have actionable steps, I commit to them and go get it, I can have anything I want. And that's where really it was like, how do we live a life by design? And that became an essence of all of my programs, my life, my book is called Life as a Masterpiece, really around that. And that's where it came from.
I love that. You and I have a lot of synergy, especially around having it all. I'm a firm believer that you can have it all, that you don't have to live a life where you're just only working and trying to make money. You can make an amazing amount of money. You can make an amazing amount of impact. You can have thriving relationships and a family and health and self-love and, and all these things. I'm curious for you because when I hear you talk, unfortunately, most people never crack that code, even though we have all the information at our fingertips, right? Like they have these podcasts and there's books and there's development. Everything is out there, but there's just something. And, this is the purpose of Rise Up for You, is helping people reach their potential. For some people, it just doesn't click. And so they continue to kind of do the same thing over and over again, and then wonder why they haven't got to the place they want to get to, right? Or they wonder why they're stuck, or they wonder why they're not really able to tap into that fulfillment. I always say happy, healthy, wealthy, sexy, right? Like,
right, for sure.
So why do you think that is? And how did you break out of that? How were you able to say, oh, wait, there is something more. And the average person isn't doing it, but I see it and I'm going to go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. There's a lot that we can unpack here. So I would say, I think first of all, it starts with really having a vision for what life could look like. And I think that a lot of times we cloud ourselves because we look at what's happened so far or what we've seen or, whatever's in our world. And it takes stepping a little bit outside of that. And so I talk to a lot of, minorities and lower income where they feel like, okay, I don't know how to get over there. And a lot of them never break through that. Right. But then they're the ones who have. And it was like being able to, whether it's going to conferences, listening to these podcasts, listening to people like this, and knowing a lot of people started right where you started. Yes, there are people that were born into families with more resources and more tools. And my kids get to be those people, right? That are going to have more resources because their parents got to learn earlier on, where some of us, our parents didn't know those things and they did the best they could. But I think one is knowing anything is possible for anyone if you're willing to go out and get it. Study stories of success. I mean, you look at Oprah Winfrey, you look at Will Smith, you look at, there's a lot of people with humble beginnings, right? Jim Carrey that became some of the greatest. And I love hearing their stories. And so for me, it was going, okay, who has come from humble beginnings, who's made it out of there, right? Who's made it great. And what have they done? And so I think about Tony Robbins, he talks about finding the model, right? And so I think early on, I was exposed to Tony Robbins when I started that sales job. And I was like, wow, okay, who is doing what I want to do, right? Who is living the life I want to live? What are they doing? What got them there? And being able to go ask questions and getting curious, right? Finding those people and saying, how'd you get there? What helped you, right? And you can talk to your personal friends and say, who do you know who's a self-made millionaire, right? Who do you know who's a self-made successful entrepreneur, right? Who do you know that you admire? And then go and grab coffee with them, ask them questions, right? But I know that once I started doing that, one of the things I learned that was really clear with everyone is that they had a vision for where they wanted to go. If you don't take time to establish what it could look like and get excited about that, it's really hard to ever get there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I love that you said admire, because I always say never take advice from someone you don't admire. And the people that you do admire, study the heck out of them. What are they doing? How are they doing?
Oh, yeah.
Right? How do they, because the answers are right in front of us. And, I remember when I started my business, Cathy, I had $100. I had no money. I couldn't afford a coach. I couldn't afford a mentor. But I just went and studied. I went and watched podcasts and studied people. I'm like, okay, well, let me go to Tony Robbins' website. What does he have on it? Oh, he has an opt-in. He's giving away a free gift. Okay. And, just kind of mimic what they're doing. I love that. I love that for you. And I'm happy that you said that. So, you're working with a lot of leaders, entrepreneurs, obviously we're doing similar work, but I want to know, what do you see as the number one challenge today from the people that you are working with?
I would definitely say that the burnout piece is a big thing, especially in sales. I've seen that so much, and even just these new aspiring entrepreneurs, because, for years I've been helping people start businesses. Then there was probably a decade I was helping people scale businesses. And now for the past, 7 years, it's been more helping people get out of their business and be a true owner versus just a full-time operator,
Yeah.
And I think about, there are different aspects that come, that can lead and can be symptoms and aspects of the burnout, because I personally believe that it's not just a physical thing. I believe that it's physical. It's also can be, and usually is emotional. It also can be behavioral, and looking at these different components and going, okay, a lot of times there's distraction. They're not taking care of themselves, because a lot of, type A go-getters, you open a new business, you're just going, going, going. You're working, you're putting, which is okay to do for a season. And that's why it's so big to me, the, processes, people, and team, because if not, it's really hard to scale by yourself. You can't add 40 more hours to the week, And so as you're trying to 5x, 10x or more, you can't add that many more hours. You can't do it yourself. And so you have to understand that. But, first things first is making sure, are we serving and are we showing up from an overflow, right? And too many of us, and I know there was times in my life where I was going on like empty, like it was fumes, it felt like. And that physical drainage is a huge part of burnout, but another component that I don't think people talk about enough is the emotional and mental aspect of it. Because, I've been asked many times, it's actually one of the questions I get asked the most by people I've worked with is, how do you stay so motivated? How do you like keep going? Like, it seems like you're just like always on the go. And I'm like, I love the life that I'm building, right? It's not about the work. Like it's a vehicle that's helping me get there faster, or this vehicle is teaching me certain things to equip me to make me stronger, or this is helping me. And like, it's all tied to each other. Like, for example, I had a salesperson that, was like, I just don't understand how you make these calls and do this. And I just kind of laughed because I started early in sales. And I said, it's not just phone calls. Ugh, nobody likes phone calls. I said, each call is one step closer to London. That was the first summer for me. I wanted to save $5,000 to study abroad in London. And that was my motivator. So there was this goal that I was working towards, this emotional goal that excited the heck out of me. And it brought so much energy in life where I wanted to take all these actions. And you think about like little kids, like if you're going on like to Disney World or it's Christmas the next day and you could be up all night and you're still so excited and like ready to go. And because there's this emotional energy, that you get from things that bring you joy. And so I think that sometimes people lose sight of why they're working, what they're working for. They're just kind of going through the motions and they're on this hamster wheel and they just keep going, going, going. And then they're physically exhausted because they're not being mentally stimulated. They're not emotionally connected to anything that they're excited about or joyous about, which is bringing additional energy, and they might not physically be taking care of themselves because they're just working a lot. They're not eating right. They're not exercising, and we could go on with all that, but there's so many things that can help with that so that they really understand like what leads to burnout and also being able to create really great boundaries for themselves. Yeah. Right. And knowing like, hey, this is what I can do. Right. Because burnout, it sneaks up on high achievers. Sometimes you don't even see it coming and it hits you, especially women balancing businesses and families, which, we have the women in GoBundance. That's a huge thing. And really understanding like, how do we have it all? Right. Like what happens there? Because we're trying to say yes too much, always on mentality. Like we've got to be able to turn off, to look inward, to slow down, right? And that's where we fill up. And then we show up at such a different energy, such a different state, and we're able to serve at such a higher level.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible to build great success and achievement working 8 hours a day?
I do.
Or give us more thoughts on that.
It's just, I've seen people do it in 5 hours a day. It's about being really focused on what the needle movers are for your business, right? And like I said, it's okay when you open a brand new business. I always say, well, having a business is like having a baby, right? Right now, I have a 7-month-old. I have to feed her. I have to change her diapers. I have to wash her. I have to do everything. And that's like a new business. You might be doing everything yourself as you're building a team, right? Yeah. But as that business gets older, that's not the goal. No one opens a business and says, I just can't wait to do everything in my business all day forever and work 15 hours a day forever, right? But it's okay. And I encourage it for the first 12 to 16 months because you're building it, right? But the goal, no one says I want to open a business to do that forever, right? I don't think anyone has a baby to be like, I just want to not sleep forever. Like, I just want to be up all night, every night, and like be on call. No, but it's a season, right? It's a season of life. And so is it possible to build a thriving business starting off? I don't know that it is. I tell my guys when they're open, I'm like, hey, you're opening a business, like having a new baby, be committed to it, for 12 to 16 months, like go all in, work with people and work smart, like have people watch you, watch others, hire people, but work with them, develop them, multiply yourself so that you can start stepping away more, so that you can enjoy a little more. Because my 5-year-old, I can do stuff and he can take care of himself and he can feed himself and he can bring me water. And the same thing with a business that has a couple people who've been working with you. Yes. And eventually once that business is an adult and you have people who've been with you for several years, they know the programs, they know the systems, they don't need you there. They're like, get out of here, right? And now you just get to be, it's like your kids at college and you just get to be there and support them and love them, but they don't really need you, but like they do, but they don't. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking, especially when you first start something as well, there's an obsession there. So you could also capitalize on that obsession. Like when I first started building the company, I didn't think about burnout. I was just obsessed. I was like, oh, I don't want to go to bed. Like you said, you're so excited about what you're doing. Hopefully in a year and a half or 2 years, then you do get yourself to a place where you're like, okay, now I have some team members and I could just take a little step back, more for the scalability and the sustainability though, as well, right? Because you can still be obsessed, but build that pipeline. So
I just think that they have to make sure, even in those times, let's say like right now I've about a dozen people that I'm working with that are opening their own business or franchise that are going to be launching out here soon. And, I'm like, hey, you can work all the time if you want. I remember being a new business owner and how excited I was, but don't sacrifice yourself in terms of get to the gym every day or go for a walk, do something outside, ground yourself. Like you have to serve your physical energy properly and work your butt off, but make sure you're eating good food. Make sure you're drinking water. Make sure there's some kind of movement. Maybe that's yoga while you're listening to a meditation or a mantra. It could be in the middle of the day that you just stop for 20 minutes and put on a yoga flow and just pause and breathe and eat something. Don't forget to do that. You want to work 16 hours, go for it. And I'm going into our season now. And I don't mind working hard for a little period of time, but we cannot sacrifice the foundations of our energy, which is the physical aspect. Absolutely. Because the emotional will carry us a long way for sure, right? But the physical is the foundation of our energy.
For sure. Yeah. You'll feel it. You will feel
right,
it.
Right. And so then there's the mental aspect. Are you scheduling properly, right? So you're not over scheduling or kind of all over the place. Do you have a good schedule? Do you have a good plan? Do you review it, weekly? What happened last week? What do we need to, what did we not get done? What went well? What could have gone better? What do we need to do this week? And that you're looking at it. So mentally your energy's up, because when you're that gets you closer to that burnout, and the freak out, feeling a loss of control. But if every day, every week, you take time to look back, look forward, every day you take 5 minutes to just walk through your day, your subconscious knows what it's doing, and it allows you to set better boundaries and interrupt the interruptions, because this is what had to get done right now, right? And being able to do that, it makes a really big difference in the type of results that you're going to have. And so for me, it's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual energy levels that we have to make sure we're feeding to help us stay centered and grounded. And when we're connected to the universe, to your creator, whatever's important to you, it helps a different part of flow, being conscious to then go, okay, what do we need? Where do we need boundaries? Where do we need support? And don't be too, so many businesses, I'm going to do it better. I got this. Stop. Start taking pride in being the best teacher of things. When I hit my wall from burnout back in 2007, that was the best advice that my mentor gave me. He said, stop taking pride in being the best at everything, because actually there's one thing you're not great at. he goes, you need to take pride in being the best teacher of everything.
Yeah.
And
I was going to ask you, because we get this we get this response a lot. And so I'm curious how you respond to the person that says, well, no one could do it like me. I mean, I just have to. It takes me more time to teach than it does for me to just do.
Yeah, short term, but that's never going to give you the freedom and the scalability that you want, right? And that's never going to free you up to maybe work on other projects, new initiatives, new relationships that could grow the business even more if you took the time to work with someone. It takes about a month, to me, to train someone to be as good or better than you. The first week they should be working with you, just watching, observing, taking notes, whatever. The second week they should be doing things with you where you actually let them do some things and they're actually participating. The third week you should let them do it on their own so that you're not making them too nervous what you've taught them. And the fourth week you should be in there watching them do everything, giving them feedback, and then come back and revisit, whether it's quarterly or however you want. But if you do that in your business as a smaller business owner, it is unbelievable what can happen. And yes, it is short term. It's so much easier to do it faster. But if I can slow down and spend 15 or 30 more minutes right now and walk through step by step what I'm doing while someone's watching me, or I can record it and document it as I'm doing it. And so now someone can watch that and learn from it. I'm allowing this to happen now in the future without me having to be there.
I love that blueprint. So them watching you, working with you, working on their own, you watching and mentoring them. I love that. Cathy, this has been great. Thank you so much for joining us today. I want to jump into the power section of the interview. I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions.
Do it.
So if you were to leave the world with one final message, we call it our golden nugget here at Rise Up For You. What's your golden nugget?
Oh, my golden nugget is take time to dream and design a life that you love.
I love that. One of the main soft skills that we teach is we have a 4-step blueprint: self-confidence, emotional intelligence, leadership, and influential communication. The biggest challenge we see with individuals is self-confidence. So I'm curious for you, if you were to rate yourself 1 through 10, 10 being amazing and self-confidence, 1 being danger zone, what would you give yourself and why?
I'm going to say a 12. No, I think that I was very blessed actually to have incredible parents and a dad who always, since I was little, instilled like, you can do anything, you can do everything, like you go. And I was blessed to have that programming from early on, and all the great mentors and teachers have only helped support that. Obviously, sometimes we lose confidence or when we're learning something brand new, but just, knowing like I've got all the tools, all the resources I need within or around me.
Yeah.
And I can access them at any time. And so if I don't have the answer, someone I know does, and I know that they'll be more than happy to share.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And final question for you before I ask, tell us where we can find you, Cathy. I know you have a book, you have a great mastermind, you have resources online. Share a little bit more about where we can connect.
Yes, absolutely. CathyChristen.com is the best. And that's Cathy with a C. And then Christen is spelled like Chris, CHRIS, and then like the number 10, TEN.com.
Fantastic.
So the best place.
Great. And we'll put that in the show notes. Final question. As you know, we are Rise Up For You. What comes to mind for you when you hear that phrase, rise up for you?
Oh, I just love how it's people stepping up for each other. It's a spirit of collaboration, right? Like doing it together, like we're going to step up for you. We're going to help you rise up. I think that as we get into collaboration, we just move so much further faster. And I love the spirit of this whole podcast. But that's what comes to mind for me.
I love that. Cathy, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an honor to have you on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining the Rise Up For You podcast. This is your host again, Lena Nasserdeen. Every single week, we're bringing amazing entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders from around the world to come and support you and help you be your absolute best. I will see you next time. Cathy, thanks again. Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel and check us out on social media. We are everywhere, from LinkedIn to Instagram to Facebook, at our simple handle at Rise Up For You. On every single platform, it's exactly the same. And we're providing new content on every single platform, so there's something different everywhere. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our podcast, and connect with us on social media. I'll see you next time.